My mother emptied my college savings, claiming it was meant for her real kids. I stayed silent until the truth came out and she was left sobbing as I forced her to repay every cent. Can you imagine looking into your mother's eyes and seeing not love, but a calculating stranger who'd just stolen your entire future? But what if, in a shocking twist, that very betrayal led to her losing absolutely everything and me inheriting it all? When I was just 17, my mom, Serena, remarried. His name was Victor, and he brought with him 2 twin boys from a previous marriage, Leo and Finn, both 10 years old. I'd been working since I was 14, every paycheck meticulously deposited into a college fund. This fund wasn't just my hard-earned cash. It started with $60,000 from the life insurance my dad left me before he passed away when I was 8. I'd added another $15,000 myself, bringing the total to $75,000. Serena was the custodian, but legally, that money was mine the moment I turned 18, which was in 3 short months. She'd never contributed a penny, yet she'd constantly bragged to people about how she was saving for my education. From day one, Leo and Finn were incredibly spoiled. Victor bought them anything they pointed at: brand new bikes, cutting-edge gaming systems, even designer clothes for 10-year-olds. Serena jumped right in, insisting they needed to feel welcomed into our family. She started spending her own money on them, which, okay, fine, that was her choice. But then the snide comments began. "It's so expensive raising real siblings," she'd sigh dramatically. "You're so lucky you only have to worry about yourself." I'd been an only child my entire life, but suddenly, Serena acted like I'd never even been her kid. The twins called her Mom, almost immediately. I remember her crying happy tears, declaring she finally had the sons she'd always wanted. My stomach dropped. I actually asked her, "What am I then?" She just brushed me off, saying I was practically an adult and should be happy for her. It got worse. She'd introduce Leo and Finn as her boys, and me as Victor's stepdaughter. Sometimes people would correct her. "No, you mean your daughter?" And she'd just laugh, a hollow dismissive sound. "Oh, right. I get so confused with all these kids." 3 weeks before my 18th birthday, I went online to check my college fund balance. My heart hammered in my chest as the page loaded. 0. Completely empty. $75,000. Gone. I called the bank, convinced it had to be fraud. The representative, calm and professional, told me the custodian had legally withdrawn it all 2 days prior. Serena. My own mother. I found her sitting with the twins at the dining room table, helping them with their homework. Something she had never done with me. My voice was shaking, but I forced it out. "Where's my college money?" She didn't even look up. "Oh, that," she said so casually it made my blood run cold. "I used it for the boys' education and activities. Real children deserve real futures, Alara. You'll be fine with community college and loans like everyone else." Victor, my stepfather, backed her up, telling me I should be grateful they'd housed me this long, and family shares resources. Leo and Finn actually laughed. Leo smugly said, "Now we can have the best of everything." And Finn added, "You can work at McDonald's while we go to private school." Serena didn't correct them. She didn't even flinch. That was my dead father's money. I choked out, tears stinging my eyes. "For my education." Serena finally looked at me, her gaze chillingly cold. "Your father would understand that living children matter more than old promises, Alara. You're being selfish, expecting to hoard family money when the twins have actual potential." She'd already spent it all. Their private school tuition, new cars for when they turned 16, and even investments in Victor's name. That night, I heard her telling Victor, her voice thick with pride, how she was so happy to provide for her real children. How the twins deserved everything and I'd gotten enough attention for 18 years. Then the knife twisted deeper. She said once I left for whatever cheap school I could afford, they'd convert my room into a game room for the boys. My world was crashing down, but a tiny spark of defiance ignited. I remembered something Evelyn, my grandmother, Serena's mother, had mentioned. She was updating her will. She'd been sick and wanted everything in order. Evelyn had always planned to leave everything to Serena, her only child. About $400,000 in assets plus the house. Serena was already counting on it, telling Victor they'd buy a bigger house when Evelyn passed. But what Serena didn't know was that Evelyn had recently added me directly to her will. She'd wanted to make sure I got something since Dad was gone. The next Sunday, I drove to Evelyn's house for our regular dinner. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside, sitting me down at her kitchen table. When she asked what happened, everything just poured out. The theft, Serena's justification, the twins' cruelty, being called not a real child. My voice kept breaking as I repeated Serena's chilling words. Dad would understand that living children matter more than old promises. Evelyn's face, initially concerned, hardened into pure fury as I showed her the bank statements on my phone. She even reminded me she'd contributed $5,000 to that fund years ago. I quickly emailed her copies of everything right there at her table. She gripped my hand. This isn't right, Alara. What your mother did is wrong no matter what the law says. We'll figure something out. The very next morning, Evelyn called her lawyer, Mr. Davies. When I visited her that evening, she explained that she was making significant changes to her will. She told me Serena was supposed to inherit everything, the house, the $400,000 in assets. But after seeing how she treats you, how she steals from you, Evelyn said, her voice firm, I'm cutting her out completely. Everything will go to you instead. I just stared at her, not quite processing it. She patiently explained that Serena had been counting on that inheritance, had already made plans. Now she would get nothing. I felt a pang of guilt. You don't have to do this, Evelyn, I whispered. I just needed someone to believe me. She took both my hands, looking me straight in the eye. This isn't about punishment, Alara. It's about making sure my money goes to someone who deserves it and will use it properly. I've watched your mother become someone I don't recognize over the past 2 years. I won't reward stealing from a child, especially one who lost her father so young. Your dad would want you taken care of, and I'm going to make sure that happens. Tears streamed down my face. She hugged me tight. You are my granddaughter, Alara. And I love you no matter what your mother says. 2 days later, Mr. Davies came to Evelyn's house with the new will documents. Evelyn had asked me to be there. Mr. Davies, an older man with kind gray hair, spread the papers on her dining room table. He explained each section. I was now the sole beneficiary of her entire estate. The house, all financial assets, and her beautiful jewelry collection that Serena had been eyeing for years. He even included a specific clause preventing me from sharing any of the inheritance with Serena, under any circumstances, to protect me from future pressure. I watched Evelyn sign each page carefully, feeling my entire world shift beneath my feet. Immediately after signing, Evelyn called Serena, putting the phone on speaker so I could hear. Serena answered, all cheerful, probably thinking Evelyn was calling to make amends. Evelyn's voice, however, was ice cold. She told Serena she knew about the stolen college fund, that she had seen the bank statements proving it. Serena tried to lie, then switched to justification, her voice getting defensive. The twins deserved good educations too. Alara's being selfish. Evelyn's voice dropped even further to a level of cold fury I'd never heard. I am disgusted by what you have done, Serena. Actions have consequences. You'll find out what those are soon enough. Then she hung up. Within the hour, Serena's car screeched into Evelyn's driveway. The doorbell rang frantically over and over. Evelyn told me to go upstairs. From the spare bedroom window, I watched Serena pound on the door, her face red with rage. Evelyn spoke through the door. I have nothing more to say. Leave. Serena started crying, apologizing, begging Evelyn to let her in. Evelyn's voice remained firm. No. Serena kept pounding and yelling for another 10 minutes until Evelyn finally called the police. I watched 2 officers arrive. Serena was crying, pointing at the house, undoubtedly claiming it was her mother's home. But Evelyn had already explained the situation. They escorted Serena to her car and watched her drive away. Her face was a mask of furious disbelief as she left. I knew without a doubt everything was about to get much worse. The next 3 weeks at Serena's house were unbearable. She stopped pretending my upcoming birthday mattered. Victor constantly made loud comments about how nice it would be to have one less mouth to feed. The twins drew a countdown calendar on the fridge whiteboard, adding cruel little insults. Day 21. Freeloader leaves soon. Day 18. Finally getting rid of the dead weight. Day 15. Game room coming. I stopped eating dinner with them, grabbing food to eat in my room or just skipping meals. My 18th birthday fell on a Tuesday. I woke up expecting nothing, and that's exactly what I got. No card, no cake mix, no hidden presents. Serena walked past me in the hallway without a single acknowledgement. I left early for school. When I came home that afternoon, the house was empty. A note on the counter in Serena's handwriting: "We went out to celebrate at the twins' favorite restaurant." No mention of my birthday. No invitation. Not even a "sorry we forgot." I made myself a bowl of cereal and sat in my room staring at my phone. Around 7, Evelyn called. She sang "Happy Birthday" in her shaky voice, and that's when I finally cried, the first tears all day. She told me she'd opened a new bank account that morning with $5,000 just for me. "Separate from any inheritance, Alara," she'd said, "just birthday money to help you get started." I thanked her about 20 times before hanging up. The house stayed quiet that night. I heard Serena and Victor getting the twins ready for bed, their voices loud and happy down the hall. Nobody knocked on my door. Nobody said goodnight. I turned 18 completely alone except for that one phone call from the only person who actually cared. The next few weeks were a living hell. Serena started making pointed comments about adults contributing to household expenses if they planned to keep living here. Victor would loudly speculate about how much cheaper their electric bill would be with one less person using power. The twins' countdown board grew new, more vicious messages daily. I spent most of my time anywhere but home. School, the library, Evelyn's house. I'd leave early, come back late. Serena seemed pleased I was gone so much. I even caught her measuring my room one afternoon when I came home unexpectedly. She wasn't even embarrassed. "Just planning the new layout for the boys," she said, as if I wasn't even there. In November, I started applying to colleges, using the bank account Evelyn had opened. Every application fee came from that $5,000. I knew I'd need full financial aid and scholarships because my college fund was gone forever. The money Serena stole was spent on things I'd never get back. My top choice school was about 3 hours away, far enough to escape but close enough to visit Evelyn. I called their admissions office and spoke with a counselor, Mr. Miller. I carefully explained my situation without going into too many details. I told him my family wouldn't be contributing to my education and I needed to know about aid programs. Mr. Miller was incredibly helpful. He asked about my grades, my work history. Then he started telling me about emergency aid programs for students in difficult family situations, scholarships specifically for those whose families refused to help. He said my grades were strong and my work history showed responsibility. He thought I'd qualify for a full aid package if I applied early. I sent in my application that same week. Around Christmas, Evelyn's health started to decline rapidly. She'd managed diabetes and heart problems for years, but now she seemed so much weaker. I noticed it first when I came over to help with groceries. She could barely carry the bags from the car. I started visiting every single day after school, helping with housework, making dinner, just sitting with her while she rested. She'd tell me stories about my dad when he was young, things I'd never heard before. Serena found out I was spending so much time there and started calling Evelyn's house constantly. Evelyn would see Serena's name on the caller ID and just let it ring. After 2 weeks of ignored calls, Evelyn blocked Serena's number completely. I was there watching her navigate the phone settings with shaky fingers. She looked at me, her eyes weary, and said she didn't want to hear excuses or lies anymore. Winter dragged on. Serena became even more aggressive with her social media posts about the twins. Every few days, new photos. Expensive gaming equipment, designer clothes with visible brand names, fancy restaurant meals. Every single post had captions about being blessed with amazing sons, and how being a real mom was the greatest joy. Family members would comment asking about me. Aunt Karen asked where I was in one photo. Uncle Mark wondered if I was doing okay. Serena either ignored those comments or responded with vague remarks about me being busy with my adult life now. She posted about the twins constantly, but hadn't mentioned me online in months. It was like I'd stopped existing to her completely. In March, Evelyn ended up in the hospital. I got the call from her neighbor saying an ambulance had taken her away. I rushed over and found out she had pneumonia on top of her other health issues. She was in a regular room by the time I got there, looking so small and tired in the hospital bed. I sat with her for hours that first day. Serena found out somehow, probably through a family friend who saw it on social media. She showed up the next morning with flowers and this ridiculously fake concerned expression. I watched her perform devoted daughter for the nurses, asking questions, touching Evelyn's hand gently. Evelyn was too weak to argue, but she squeezed my hand tight when I arrived. I quietly told the nurses that my grandmother didn't want Serena visiting anymore. Serena heard me. She caused a huge scene in the hallway, yelling about being banned from her own mother's room. How dare I make decisions about her mom? The nurses, bless them, didn't understand our family dynamic. Security had to escort her out. Evelyn came home after a week but needed a nurse coming by every day. During the times when she felt more alert, we'd talk about everything. She told me about my father, how proud he'd be of me. She said she regretted not being more involved when I was younger, that she'd let Serena control their relationship too much. She talked about her hopes for my future. College, a career, happiness. One afternoon she made me promise something. She grabbed my hand with surprising strength. Elara, you have to promise me you'll use this inheritance to build a real life. Go to good schools. Never let Serena make you feel worthless again. I was crying by then and I promised her everything she asked. I told her she'd shown me what real family love looked like when I thought I'd never have that again. Evelyn passed away peacefully in her sleep on a Tuesday night in late April. The nurse found her the next morning. I got the call at school and left immediately. I sat in Evelyn's house for hours, just crying, feeling like I'd lost the only family member who actually loved me. Serena, however, took over the funeral arrangements within hours of finding out. She called the funeral home, picked out everything, and immediately started posting long, emotional tributes on social media about her beloved mother and their special bond. She told extended family she was certain Evelyn had left everything to her, and she planned to use the money to honor her mother's memory. The funeral was 3 days later. I sat in the front row watching Serena perform grief, all while whispering to Victor about inheritance plans. She told Victor's parents they'd finally be able to buy that bigger house. She mentioned taking the twins to Europe that summer. She'd even called a realtor about listing Evelyn's house, discussing asking prices loud enough for me to hear from 2 rows away. I stayed quiet through the whole service. Evelyn's friend, Mrs. Albright, sat next to me holding my hand. She knew the truth about everything. The will reading was scheduled for 1 week after the funeral at Mr. Davies's office downtown. Serena showed up in an expensive new black dress, bringing Victor for support. She was already talking about how quickly they could access the funds. As we walked into the building, Mr. Davies asked everyone to sit in his conference room. Serena and Victor took the chairs directly across from his desk. I sat to the side with Mrs. Albright. Mr. Davies opened a folder and began reading the will's key provisions out loud. He went through the standard legal language about Evelyn being of sound mind. Then he reached the part about beneficiaries. He read that Evelyn was leaving her entire estate to her granddaughter, Elara, including the house, all financial assets and personal property. I watched Serena's face. It changed from confident to confused in about 2 seconds. Then confused to absolutely, incandescently furious. She shot up from her chair so fast it tipped backward and crashed against the wall. Her face went from white to bright red in seconds. She started screaming that this was impossible. That I'd poisoned Evelyn against her. That I'd manipulated a sick old woman for money. Mr. Davies sat perfectly still behind his desk, hands folded, while Serena shrieked about how she'd contest the will, how she'd prove Evelyn wasn't thinking clearly, how any judge would see I'd taken advantage. Victor grabbed her arm, trying to get her to sit down, but she yanked away. Mr. Davies waited until she paused for breath before speaking, in this calm, quiet voice that somehow made the room feel colder. He explained the will was created 18 months ago when Evelyn was completely healthy and competent. He said it specifically addressed the possibility of challenges and included detailed documentation about why Evelyn made this choice. Then he pulled out copies of my bank statements showing the college fund withdrawal and the twins' private school enrollment papers. Serena's face changed again when she saw those documents on the table. She went quiet for maybe 3 seconds, before she lunged at me across the room. Victor caught her around the waist and had to physically hold her back while she screamed that I was a thief, that I'd stolen her inheritance, that I'd destroyed her family. I just sat there watching her lose it completely. Mr. Davies stood up. "The meeting is over," he said. "My office will handle any official challenges through proper legal channels." Serena was still yelling threats as Victor dragged her toward the door. 2 weeks later, I rented a moving truck. Serena and Victor stayed locked in their bedroom the entire time. I only took my clothes, my laptop, the few books and photos that were actually mine. Everything else they'd bought could stay. The twins watched from the living room, making comments about how I was finally leaving, how they'd get my room now. I didn't say a word to them. My neighbor, Mrs. Albright, helped me carry boxes while the moving guys handled my bed and desk. The whole thing took maybe 3 hours. Evelyn's house felt huge and empty when we got there. Mrs. Albright helped me unpack some basics, then made me promise to call if I needed anything. That first night, I sat in Evelyn's kitchen eating takeout and I just cried. I cried because Evelyn was gone and I'd never get to thank her enough. I cried because my own mother hated me for not letting her steal from me. I cried because I was 18 and completely alone in this big house. But I also felt safe in a way I hadn't felt in years. No one here would take my things or call me selfish or say I wasn't real family. I could lock the doors and know I was actually protected. The family drama exploded over the next few weeks. Serena posted this long rambling thing on social media about how I'd manipulated Evelyn, how she was heartbroken that her own daughter would do this. Some cousins I barely knew commented saying they always knew I was trouble. But other relatives started speaking up too. Aunt Karen commented that she remembered Serena bragging about taking my college money. Uncle Mike said he'd always wondered why Serena treated me so differently after she remarried. Mrs. Albright became like an aunt figure, checking on me constantly, showing up with groceries or just for coffee. She even helped me figure out how to pay the property taxes and manage the rental properties Evelyn owned. My phone kept buzzing with calls from Serena's number. I'd listen to the voicemails sometimes. Some were her crying about how I'd ruined her life. Others were her screaming threats about lawyers and lawsuits. A few were her trying to guilt-trip me about family and forgiveness. I blocked her number after about 30 messages. Then the texts started coming from random numbers, but I recognized her writing style. A few cousins reached out privately saying they were proud of me for getting away from her. They said they'd watched Serena change over the years and knew this inheritance thing wasn't really about money. By August, I was enrolled at the college I'd dreamed about since sophomore year. The financial aid office gave me a full package once they saw my situation. Evelyn's inheritance covered my living expenses and books. I picked business management as my major because I wanted to learn how to handle the rental properties Evelyn left me. Sometimes late at night I'd still feel sad thinking about Serena. Not the Serena who stole from me and called the twins her real children, but the mom I remembered from before Dad died. The one who used to make me breakfast and help with homework. That person was gone though. Maybe had been gone for years and I just didn't want to see it. I was learning that DNA doesn't automatically make someone family. Real family doesn't steal from you or make you feel worthless. Evelyn showed me what actual love looked like in those last 18 months. She gave me a foundation to build a real life on. I am determined to make her proud and never let anyone treat me like I am nothing ever again. Have you ever experienced a betrayal so deep it redefined what family means to you? Or found unexpected support when you needed it most? Tell me your stories in the comments below. I'm really listening.